Hey guys, it's Stevie from On the Fly. And if you're looking for a vinyl experience, let me tell you about Everybody's Record Shop in Williamson, North Carolina. I just went in a couple of weeks ago, and let me tell you, I was so impressed. Let me tell you a little bit about this place. Everybody's Record Shop is the place to catch your music fix. They are a local family owned record store based in downtown Williamson, and they specialize in the sale and trade of vinyl records, tapes, CDs, and much more. When you come to them, they want you to feel like you just stepped back in time to the glory days of music. Walking through the front door, you'll be greeted with a surplus of rock, blues, country, classical, soul, anything you can think of. They've got it. Everyone you'll see behind the counter has a deep passion and love for music, and through their shop, they want to help create memories and experiences that you won't forget. Music has the incredible power to bring together different people from all around under a common love. Their goal is to do the same through customer experience and the music they provide. This place is for the music lovers. And I'm telling you guys, if there is something they don't have, let them know. They will order it for you. Go check them out at at 101 West Main Street, Unit B, or you can reach them on the phone at 252-802-8069, on Instagram at Everybody's Record Shop, or on Facebook at Everybody's Record Shop as well.
Hey, this is Todd Howarth from Ace Frehley's Comet, Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent, 707, 4 by Fate, and Return of the Comet. Hey, you are listening to On the Fly with Stevie and Warden. Yep, that's what you're listening to, and you're listening to it all night long. And maybe during the day. Hell, I don't know. I'm not there. But take my word for it.
You are listening to On the Fly.
What's up, guys? On the Fly is back again tonight. And tonight we've got, I've been kind of slack on the interviews here lately. We've been doing a lot of shows, but continuing with the Kiss theme that we've been doing for the last 2 months, last month, really, because we're recording on November 14th. We're less than a month away from the final show. It's going to be here before you know it, guys. Kiss is going to be over. But with us tonight from Classic 78 and from Quarantine is Mr. Joe McGinness. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, man. This is quite the honor.
Yeah, it's an honor to have you on. Like I said, we've been doing kind of like Kiss theme shows, because we like last show was our favorite memories of Kiss. Uh, and I know you're a little bit younger than me, but what would you say? And I know you probably got to meet some of the guys, probably all of the guys, but what would you say was your favorite memory of Kiss?
Let me see. I have so many.
Yeah.
You mean like in their presence, watching them, or just
Well,
in
I mean,
general?
okay, what would you say got you into Kiss? I'll put it that way.
All right. So we have to go way back. So
Yeah.
probably 1987.
Oh, you were.
I was just like 4 years old, and I just remember my brother had Kiss Animalized live uncensored, and
Yeah.
eventually Kiss Exposed, and that was my first real introduction to the band, and they became just a fixture in our household. My both of my older brothers, were huge into it, and you couldn't help but, as a kid, be influenced by watching that stuff.
Yeah.
My brother had the posters and tapestries and records on his wall, hanging up, and I remember we shared a room together and looking over at these, like Gene's solo album was on his wall and Paul's solo album, and Gene's just terrified me, but I couldn't look away. I loved it at the same time. It
Yeah.
scared the crap out of me, but I loved it at the same time. But yeah, just one of my earliest memories of thinking, I was solidified as a Kiss fan was, I remember being a kid, getting dressed and just singing Cold Gin and going, and here I am, probably 4 years old, 5 years
Yeah.
old,
Oh, yeah.
and singing Cold Gin. I didn't even know what the lyrics were or what Cold
What
Gin
it was
was.
about.
And
Yeah.
it didn't even matter. But I was like, I think I'm hooked, and then my brother gave me a couple cassettes. He gave me Paul's solo album,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think my first cassette that I got from the store was Love Gun,
Oh
and
wow.
then it just kind of blossomed. Every single, I wanted to know everything I could about them, and then obviously I didn't get to see them live until I got a little bit older. So I really was supposed to see them on the Psycho Circus tour, but then they canceled the show, unfortunately. Um, but I saw them on the farewell tour with all four original members, and
First
it was
film, yeah.
yeah. So that was my first time seeing them. I've seen them like 10 times. I think maybe yeah. I'm going to two shows coming up in Quebec. We're going, and then we're going to go to the final show on December 2nd.
Oh wow. Yeah, I know
And
Jericho's got like seats pretty close. I know I know I
yeah,
heard him say that.
yeah, he does. And so yeah, I'll probably meet up with him there, and we're gonna, just hopefully, I'm not really worried about all of the is Ace going to show up? Is Peter going to show up? I've heard stuff throughout, the rumor mill, but to me, I'm just like, Gene and Paul have just those two alone have
Yeah,
given
yeah.
us so many years of enjoyment and records, along with Ace and Peter and Bruce and all those guys. But Gene and Paul, especially, who kept the machine moving, I'm like, I if it is truly their last tour date, I'd like to actually go and witness it and support them and just have a good time and soak it all in. I have children, and my wife's even a Kiss fan, so we're just like the whole house is, we're all looking forward to seeing these shows because they're not those guys aren't getting any younger, and
No,
it truly could be the end of the road any day. You just don't know when they
we've
get to be
been
that age.
we've been fortunate enough for them nothing to happen, except for unfortunately Eric Carr, but nothing really happened. Well, Eric Carr and Mark St. John, but like Paul and Gene, Ace, they're all in. I think Peter is the oldest. I mean, nothing's really happening, and we've been fortunate all these years because
Yes.
a lot of bands, a lot of people going away from here, and the older we get, it seems like once a month you see one of your idols that you've been listening to or watching
Yeah,
on TV all these years going away. And I said, hey, it's just part of getting old. But
it
yeah,
is.
I don't blame you. I mean, I'd want to be there too to witness that. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, but just to tie that last question up, my favorite memories are some of my early ones. Discovering things about the band, watching those videos with my brothers, listening to the music, which becomes a soundtrack to your life, essentially. But like going when they announced the end of the road tour on Good Morning America, I was there in the crowd, and we
Oh
had
wow,
we had VIP passes, so we were able to hang out with Gene and Keith LaRue, who I'm sure you know who Keith
oh yeah,
LaRue is. Got to hang out with those guys a little bit, and that was definitely a special one for me.
yeah.
Just getting to hang out, in that kind of capacity was really fun.
At,
But there's a
at
couple of them.
yeah, at 4 years old, you weren't learning power stage ramps from Animalize, where you weren't walking out yelling.
I well, when my mother wasn't around, my brothers, it was no holds barred. They would play anything, and but if my mother was around, they wouldn't play some of that stuff. They would kind of fast forward, the old
Yeah, yeah.
VHS tapes. But sometimes like you would watch Paul do those stage raps, and like to me as a kid, I was like, all right, just play some music,
Play
just
music,
play some
man. Come on.
music. But
Yeah,
now, watching it as an adult, you look at it, like that's kind of funny just to,
yeah.
but yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, as a kid, I was, and you guys, we'll talk about this in a little while. You and Charlie Benante, when COVID was going on, you guys played Mr. Speed, which was like I honestly thought it was just like a Kiss had remastered it because it sounds so spot on. I mean, you can't tell, but that song used to scare me. The right before the guitar solo when Paul lets out that yell. At 5 years, 6 years old, I was scared to death of
No
that.
kidding. Wow.
But and another thing, talking about my mom, they were always supportive of me and my brother's love for Kiss. But for some reason they didn't want us to listen to Rod Stewart. But
No
I could
kidding.
go around the house, quoting "Put your hands in my pocket, grab onto my rocket." Didn't know what it was talking about, but I couldn't listen to Rod Stewart. Do you think I'm sexy? So,
Wow.
which I think we ended up on a good side of the stick there. So,
Definitely.
when did you pick up a guitar? When did you get that? And how? What was the story behind picking up the guitar for the first time?
So I'd probably say like 1993 or so. I was like 10 years old. My brother was kind of trying to teach me stuff, but at that time I knew I kind of wanted to play music, but I was like, just not yet.
Right.
I was a huge wrestling fan also as a kid.
Yeah.
I think that goes hand in hand being
Yeah.
a Kiss fan.
Kiss and wrestling. Kiss,
So
wrestling, and Star Wars was
yeah,
my
yeah.
yeah.
So growing up as a young kid, and I was like, my first thing was I was going to be a wrestler. Like I wanted to be a wrestler, and then I realized, yeah, playing guitar is fun too. And so probably around 94, I moved from upstate New York to Vermont. And so I uprooted completely all my friends, everything. We were, about an hour away from where I originally grew up and went to school. So I started fresh. We didn't have internet back then. You didn't have Facebook. So I was just like, I didn't know anyone. So I kind of turned to my older brother because my oldest brother had moved out by that time. So it was just my brother Steve and I, and he played, and he was really into playing Kiss music on guitar. And eventually I just said, hey, show me how to play that. And it was like, first he started simple, like I could play Cold Gin on one note, and then it was like the next week he's like, here, try this. And it was deuce. So I learned deuce. And I had this knack of like picking it up quickly. And then, so it was probably, 10, 11 years old. I was like finally getting to that point where like, I think I'm ready to do this, so probably 94, 95, 1995. It was just like, it was on, and it actually affected my school grades. My mother was getting upset. I almost failed, and she's finally like, listen, you got to buckle down, as she would say. And, but I got so immersed into playing guitar. That's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I was like, screw wrestling, I'll watch it, but I'm not going to do it,
All right. Being you were from New York, were you a WWF guy, or did you watch a little bit of like the old NWA with Ric Flair?
So, okay. I didn't even know that stuff existed because we only got WWF for most of the time on the channels that we got. So eventually it turned into, I'd turn on TBS and you would see WCW. And then I heard, I used to read like the wrestling magazines, like Pro Wrestling Illustrated and stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. What these guys, where is this place? Where are they wrestling for these other promotions? I had no idea until I started looking outside, whatever the programs were WWF had at the time, like I don't remember, All American Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge. Those are the only ones I ever watched, But when I did,
I'm in a small town in eastern North Carolina, and we've got probably, our population is probably like 89 or 90. So wow. We've never got cable here.
No kidding.
No, we've got and we just got in the last year like high speed internet here. So we had, back when I was a kid, we had 3 channels, and the Crockett stuff, the NWA stuff was always on, and I could see Saturday night's main event with WWF, and then I think there was one on at lunchtime that I could see with WWF. But I'm like you, I was buying the Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and all that other stuff. I would hate to see me as a kid if I had all the stuff they have now.
Yes, I know.
I probably never left the house. I probably would have been watching between kids and wrestling. I would have been watching.
You would. But the great thing is, I was just gonna say, the great thing is now, I actually go back and I watch a lot of the NWA, WCW, the stuff on the network, WWE Network, which is Peacock now. But
Right.
I get to go back and kind of relive, kind of vicariously through those videos that which is cool. They had great stuff, but I kind of feel like I missed out there. My cousin was always like, WCW is way better, and I'm thinking, no
Well,
way, man. I never gave it a chance, but I was like, they had some good stuff, but
yeah. WWF, when I was coming along, it was more of the cartoon stuff for the kids, and now NWA, when you had Flair and the Four Horsemen, that was they were bad. They were badass. I mean, I
definitely
remember going to my first event and seeing them there, and I was like, oh, I got to stay away from these guys. These guys are bad. But do you remember the first band you played in?
I do, because the funny thing is it was real easy for me to find band members because they were my family, my whole family. I'm not even kidding. Like, every single person in my family played music. Within reason. Like, I would say there's more of us that play, music and sing than not. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
I'm one of 6 kids, and
Wow.
3 of us play, semi-professionally, professionally. And then my brothers and all my sisters and my little brother, they all sing, So, and my mother was in bands. My father, when he was alive, my uncles. I mean, it's ridiculous. So, what was the question again?
Your first band.
Oh, my first band. Yeah. So my first band was called C4, and it's just kind of but it was with my cousin and my 2 older brothers, and I played bass. And I wanted the gig. I was the youngest in the band. I was 13, 14 years old, and I was just like so happy to be in a band. But I took it, and I originally wanted to be a drummer in the band. I was like, I want to play drums, just because I think every kid just wants to go crazy.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a blessing that they said, no, we want you to play bass, because it kind of got me, into kind of being up front. And then eventually they're like, hey, you want to try to sing a couple? Or actually, at practice, my cousin had a cold, and he would do most of the singing. And he's like, I can't sing this week. You want to just kind of shout the words, kind of. So I took over and started singing, and they're like, hey, why don't you sing that all the time? So yeah, that was my first band. It was probably, I think we started in 96, and we went to maybe 2002, I think. And so we had a pretty good run, and we played a lot of shows.
My daughter has been learning the guitar over the last year and a half, and she's gotten really good, because we bought guitars at the same time. I said, cool. We're going to do this together. Yeah, I have yet to pick mine up yet. I want to so bad, but just time. I know I want to learn it, and I was like, I've got to do this. I'm a football coach. Football season's over, so I'm gonna start trying to learn how to play it. We'll see how it goes. But
nice.
Songwriting. You remember the first song you write, and how hard was that for you to do? Because we talked a little bit before we came on about this. How hard was that first song for you?
Okay, well, do you want the real first song or the one that?
Let's hear the real one now.
Okay, so when I was a kid, I remember watching. I'm a huge Flythe Comet fan. Like, they're like next to Kiss. They're like probably my favorite band next to Kiss. And I think they're so underrated. Todd Howard
I love Todd. Has been on the show twice.
Oh, he's the man. He's just so good.
Yes.
But I remember watching Flythe Comet, the VHS tape that had the live +4. And I remember sitting down and just loving every single song. And I eventually just started taking their lyrics and kind of like, no one will know if I take these lyrics. So I took some lyrics from Into the Night and some from Breakout. It probably is the worst song ever, but I started, and then I put in a few of my own lyrics. But it was funny for me to like think that was like the inception of like, okay, I think this is how it works,
Right.
But yeah, like writing songs, I used to record covers on my little cassette recorder and try to impress my brother, my older brothers, and they'd be like, I'm waiting for this huge response for them to go, wow, that's really good. But they're like, why are you doing covers? Why don't you write your own songs? And I'm like, what? I just busted my ass recording this, trying. So finally, I just have a very competitive personality when it comes to that stuff. So anyway, I started writing songs, and one of my first ones, I remember calling my brother up. He worked at a factory at the time, and I said, hey, listen to this. And I played it over the phone. He's like, wow, that's really good. So, it was probably like, later 1990s, like 97, 98, I started really kind of, maybe 96, really trying to zone in on songwriting, because he kind of pushed me, and I'm glad he did, because it was a totally different world when I started at a young age. And that's how it started. But the Freely's Comet thing.
Freely's Comet. Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you this: favorite Freely's Comet album, the Second Sighting or the debut album?
I gotta go with Second Sighting.
Thank you. That's my man. Yes.
It's an unpopular opinion.
It is. It really is.
But
I love it.
Me too. Just all you have to do is, Insane is a great song. But if Ace didn't have one song on there, it still would be because Todd, I love it. I mean, Todd is just so good. He's a brilliant songwriter, amazing singer, great player, great keyboard player. And the production, I love, huge fan of John Regan and Jamie Oldacre played on that record, I believe. And, just a great band. And Ace adds his cool little vibe to it too. So it's like, I think that band should have been huge.
It really should have been. And Todd came on the second time we had him on was about a month ago. And we went through Second Sighting track by track.
Oh, I have to listen to that.
He had some great stories up there about it. But one of my all-time favorite songs, and I'm a sucker for a ballad. I love the horse, but I'm a sucker for a ballad. It's Over Now.
Oh, so good. It's Over Now.
It should have been huge. I mean, really should have been huge. And what was that girl? Was the girl from what? Was it for the girl from Plush that played it?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she nailed it. Yep,
she killed it.
Originally when we were, I was kind of helping put that event together. I don't mean in the capacity that Neil Davis did, but I'd be talking to Neil about which songs, and when he mentioned, I think someone should do, that song, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, I'd love to play that, Neil. And he's like, well, someone else already committed to it. I'm like, man, because I would have loved to. But Mariah did a great job on that, and I don't think I could compete with her vocals on that. She's a great singer,
So you start with your, and I was surprised when I started doing my research on you. We talked a little bit about this before there. Country music, and you start off recording. I guess you started off recording your country music first before anything like that. And I've been listening to it. Nothing like the radio. Blame It on the Weekend. Two great songs right there. I love those songs.
Hey, thanks.
But if you guys don't believe me, check him out look up Joe McGinness on Apple Music, and you'll hear some of his songs. But what got you into country music?
Well, so growing up, I was torn between rock and country, and mainly because my mother sang and played in a country band.
Right.
And all she ever did was listen to Highway 101 and Patty Loveless and Reba McEntire. And I could go on and on and on. But, and then my uncles, who also played in the band, would, sing all the Ricky Van Shelton and stuff like that. And I was torn between hearing that and then Kiss. It was like Kiss or country. So at the point in my life where I said, what do I want to do? And I was like, well, why don't I do both? Why would I limit myself to one? And people think it's, I have long hair, but Ricky Van Shelton had it worked.
Exactly. There's
Billy Ray Cyrus.
I told you before we went on, the whole 80s when I was nothing but metal rock from the 80s. I was like, I would go turn the radio channel. A lot of you don't know what a radio is out there, but I would turn the dial, and when we get to a country channel, I'd turn it as quick as I could. But that all changed for me when Garth Brooks came out with, when he came out with Thunder Rolls.
Oh yeah.
I was hooked on country music. And I mean, you're like, okay, am I going to listen to this rock like, Kiss or Garth? And then they came together, of course, on Kiss My Ass.
Yeah.
So, good music is good music. I don't care what kind of music it is. I'll listen to anything as long as it's good music.
I couldn't agree more. I have always told people that. Well, what kind of music do you listen to? Well, good music. Good music. And I don't listen to anything that I think is poor music. Crappy music. Yeah. But even still, me just being me, like sometimes when I listen to crappy music, like I'll try to find the good in it. Well, at least it's this, or at least it's recorded, with musicians and not a laptop sometimes, or like some people, I'm very old school when it comes to that. I have no problem with hip hop or anything, but I like to have some level of talent in there of like playing or singing something on the track.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Not mumbling. If you're mumbling, you got get some singing in there. Get a melody going on.
Yeah. Not long after I started the podcast, I said, well, there's a lot of these records that I haven't listened to. I've just listened to the singles, not the whole song.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to listen to 365 whole albums in a year.
Wow.
And that turned into, now in 2 years, I'm on 1,500. And I've heard some great ones I didn't think I would like. And I've heard some ones that I'm like you. I'm trying to find the good in it. And I rank each song from 1 to 5. And there's been a lot of ones here lately, but I've been going off into some kind of music that I would never have listened to before in my life. But yeah, it's something. But you actually end up with your country career. You played for, and a lot of people remember Florida Georgia Line. Mm-hmm. I think they're still out there, aren't they? They're still together, aren't they?
No, they split up.
Oh, wow.
They're both doing a solo thing at this point. I just from what I know from the inside of people that, I don't want to go too far into it, but, it sounded like there was a lot of disagreements going on there.
Oh,
and a lot of, I don't know if I'd say ego as much as disagreements. And, I think it was just time for them to
split,
disband,
And another band that I don't think gets a lot of credit, but this album challenge made me a fan of them. It's Old Dominion. I mean, they are great. I have not heard a bad song on any of the albums I've listened to with them.
I got to tell you, Old Dominion was probably one of my favorite, groups to share the stage with, because, I mean, here we are, sitting backstage and we're singing Beach Boys songs together. They're singing.
Oh wow, I love the Beach Boys.
Oh, me too. I'm a huge. They're right below Frehley's Comet for me, probably. Like
my dad would. That was when I was growing up. My mom had Elvis on, and my dad had the Beach Boys on. So I still listen to a lot of the Beach Boys.
Great stuff.
There is a cover of I don't know if you've heard it or not. They did back in the early 90s, maybe mid 90s, they did a Beach Boys tribute album. And Timothy Smith from the Eagles did Caroline No.
Oh, wow.
With the Beach Boys singing the harmonies.
Is that on the Stars and Stripes?
Stars and Stripes.
Okay, yes, I have heard that then. Yep.
Oh my gosh! And you look it up on YouTube, you see the Beach Boys backstage with them getting the harmonies down, and I'm a sucker for that too. Hearing the harmonies. And
oh man,
between the Eagles and the Beach Boys, those harmonies.
Yeah, that's great stuff.
Classic. So, speaking of classic, and you know where I'm going here.
With a K.
Yes, with a K. I remember sitting here. I'd done the podcast for about half a year. And I come across on Facebook this classic 78 on Facebook. And I'm like, what the heck is this? Because the stuff up there, it's written like Kiss stuff, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I start listening. I said, what is it? Is this like unplayed demos from Gene? And because if you listen, it sounds just like Gene, Paul, and Ace. But Tom Higgins, you, and now Charlie Benante come up with this stuff, and it's amazing to me because I've got Phantoms right here, and I mean I know you had side one, side two before that, but Phantoms. How do you guys do this? That's it's just amazing. You guys not only write a '70s Kiss song, but you've got the sound down. It sounds just like Kiss from the '70s.
Well, just like, any Kiss fan, it's kind of somewhere in there. I think every Kiss fan has either secretly in their car while singing or even out in public tried to emulate at least one of their voices.
Yeah, definitely.
Gene especially. A lot of people try to sing like Gene, and some people do a great job, but some of those guys aren't as easy to I hate to say imitate, but kind of emulate, but I don't know. It's
Well,
so for
you've got
me,
Paul down.
thanks.
Yes.
And it was kind of by accident. And it was, when I was a teenager recording those Kiss songs, trying to impress my brother, I would try to like give it a little bit of a Paul kind of, touch to it. And it just kind of sounds a little bit like it. And then, when Tom approached me about doing it, I said, well, before I really wasn't trying. I was like, but if you want me to try, I'll try even harder, Paul's a very unique singer to begin with, but his voice is, definitely unique. If you think about the guys in Kiss, there's no one on earth that sounds like any of them.
No.
Like, because Paul has such a unique voice. Peter has a unique voice, kind of Rod Stewartish, but not quite. If you ask me, Peter's voice is the best in Kiss and better than Rod Stewart's. Peter has
wrong with that.
As far as being commercial, being a great voice all the way around, that almost everyone could say, yeah, his voice is great. Ace has a unique voice. I don't think I know anyone who talks or sings like Ace other than
Ace's. I've always said this. Ace's voice fits his songs.
It does.
I mean, it's that's the best way I can say about Ace's voice. It fits his song. Like you said, he talks a lot of the time with his songs. But yeah, and I'm a huge Ace fan. Ace is like my favorite member of Kiss. But I'm not blind to the fact that Ace is not going to be belting out "I Still Love You" like Paul.
No, yeah, it's not going to happen. You're right. No. You're right. But when we took this approach and Tom kind of reached out to me, he found me. I was just posting stuff on YouTube that I had did a few years prior, and I was just like, oh, it's just for fun. I'm going to post. It was never intended for anything else. It was just whatever. And he messages. I get an email. I'm like, first of all, how did you find me? This was anonymous, or what I thought was anonymous, and somehow I get this email from him. I'm like, what is this guy crazy? I'm like, but when he showed me kind of the rough outline of what he was doing, I said, yeah, okay, this will be fun. I'll do it. I said, but I want to do it anonymous because I have a country career right now.
Right.
And I'm really kind of knee deep in that. And so when he reached out, I said, I'll give it a shot. I did a few of them, and I never anticipated the response that we got. I was thinking, oh boy, like this is kind of getting a little too big for what I thought. I thought like this was just going to be a fun little, and then it was like, hey, do you want to do a second one? Okay, of course, that was really fun. And then when Charlie joined, he just went to a totally different level, because Charlie, is just, not that our prior drummer wasn't, but Charlie, just eats, sleeps, breathes, wanting to play and sound like Peter Criss. Other than, you know what I mean? Like we all have.
For him to go from an Anthrax sound
exactly
to doing what he does with Peter Criss, that right there, he is major talent. Which I mean, I thought that before this, but so talented as a drummer.
Oh, he's just incredible. But when we were doing this Phantoms album, he went the extra mile, like to the point where a lot of other people couldn't or wouldn't. He worked with Eddie Kramer on
Oh,
some
wow.
albums. So he was able to, while they're mixing Anthrax albums, he would sit there and go, "Hey, when you recorded this with Kiss, how did?" So he picked
He
Eddie's
was picking his
brain
brain, yeah.
completely. And then when it came time for him to track drums, he sent me this picture of him in his drum room. And I say drum room, it was like he took this whole rock and roll over approach where he had microphones in the staircases and like the going up the stairs, he would have mics like 30 feet away and I helped mix the album. So when I got all the tracks, I said, "Holy cow, look at all these drum tracks." Like
Oh
it's a,
yeah,
it's a five, 4 or
everywhere.
5 piece kit, but there's 10 mics, 11 mics.
That's
So, but yeah, like he went the extra mile. He used, vintage cymbals, like concert toms. I mean, he really like took it to the next level to try to get those tones and he wrote all the drum parts and sometimes he would track the song 2 or 3 times with different takes so we could all listen to it together and say which one sounds the best. uh,
wasn't y'all's original plan just to ask him to do like maybe one track, and he said, "Oh, I want to do them all."
yeah, so I went to an Anthrax show to talk to him, and to watch the show. Obviously it was Slayer and Anthrax and Testament and a few other bands. And he came to town and I said, Charlie, let's meet up and whatever. So he hooked me up. We were back there, we were talking, and I said, "So we're toying around with the idea of having a bunch of guest drummers, and we'd like you to be one of them." And he said, "No, I want to do them all." so,
You can't
so
turn him down.
yeah, I said, "That's the guy we want right there. The guy that says he wants to do them all is the guy that deserves the job." So, yeah, that's how it happened, and wasn't too long after, all the material was written and everyone kind of gave their seal of approval on, all right, it's time to move to the next step out of the demo phase into the production stage. And yeah, Charlie nailed it. He's just incredible, and I can't wait to it's funny when I talk to him, he's like, "You wouldn't believe how many people I get at the Anthrax meet and greets wanting to talk about Classic 78."
That's awesome. That's awesome. It is an awesome album. If you guys have not checked it out, you cannot stream it. You got to buy it though. But I promise you, you will not be disappointed. And I know when I talked to Tom, that's been probably a year ago. Is there anything coming in the future from Classic 78?
What did Tom tell you?
Tom said, if I remember right, that if y'all did another, you may do like in a live version, and that would probably be it. That would probably be the
Right.
last thing. Kind of like a live two, do some live stuff and have like a side with original tracks on it. I think if I remember correctly, that's what he said, and that would probably be it. But
Yeah. The truth is, we really don't know. I do know for definite that we're going to have Phantoms on vinyl, and it's going to be
yes, I'm
uh,
waiting for that.
and by the sounds of it, it sounds like it may include side 1 and side 2. I don't know if that's
Oh wow!
true or not, and it's going to have everything all in one. I don't. That's what we had a meeting about it with Charlie and Tom, but we're just kicking around ideas. But all I could tell you is when it comes out, I think it's going to be a must-have, and I'm actually really excited about it. We're talking about the artwork and everything and we, all of us being such huge fans, and in general, we just like, I think it's perfect that we're all able to kind of meet and talk about it. So we pretty much hashed out how we're going to do it, and it's just a matter of timeline. I don't know how long it takes to
Right.
press Vine. I don't know. Something could happen next week, and we can say, well, let's put it on hold. So, but right now, it's looking like it's going to happen. But as far as the other Classic 78 stuff, I do know that we have some demos, but Charlie is extremely busy
Oh yeah,
with
he's got a lot.
Pantera and Anthrax,
Yeah.
but he's still very interested in doing what he can when he can do it. It's just a matter of, time permitting. it's just the way it goes. Unfortunately, there's a big variable of like,
Right.
is it going to happen or is it? But the live album concept was actually a concept we talked about, and I always kind of had that in the back of my mind when we started this thing. And one day I mentioned it to Tom, and he's like, "Yeah, that'd be very cool." I said we could put in the bombs and the crowd,
Heck
and
yeah.
really kind of make that a live kind of vibe, happen. But I don't know when or if that's definitely going to happen, or if
Keep my
that's going to be
fingers
the end of
crossed.
it.
Keep
Yeah,
my
I know. Right? Me as a fan, like, it's cool. Sometimes I'll tell Tom, he'll be like, "Hey, do you want to play your guitar tracks on this?" I'm like, I almost, if you already know them, I would almost think that you should play it. Like if it's an Ace song, I'm like, just play it. That way I could just be surprised by it, if, or if it's, like I play guitar, obviously, on
Yeah.
stuff. But Tom does a lot of heavy lifting, and he gets, sometimes, almost into their psyche as songwriters. Like he'll come up with a great idea for an Ace tune, and you're like, literally, Ace probably could have wrote that song.
I
And
tell you, all of those songs on Phantoms, especially, are freaking that great Kiss. They would be great Kiss songs. I mean, I'm surprised Paul and Gene had to stole these from you guys.
well, I don't know. Did you watch the A&E biography?
Yes.
So some of our
Was that some of y'all's stuff played in the background?
yeah, not anything that was released. It was all unreleased stuff.
Oh, okay.
Mainly, stuff Tom kind of put together. And so yeah, there's a little
Wow.
tidbit for you. So if you listen to that A&E biography, kind of pick out the stuff that sounds like classic 78,
Because a lot of people made a comment on that, but there was. I remember after it came out, there were a lot of people saying, "Well, why didn't they play their own music?" Because there's a lot of Kiss sounding like
Yes.
music playing in the background, but it's not any song that I've ever heard. And
Right.
I was like,
Some of the
I mean,
some of the stuff, a lot of it has to do with licensing and money,
right.
and I do know that for a fact because I've listened in on some of that stuff before. But as far as like, you could tell what is kind of classic 78 and what's not.
Yeah.
But especially me, when I was listening to it, I almost forgot about it. So, oh yeah. I'm like, that's that sound.
That's us.
But that was a kind of cool little feather, and especially in Tom's cap, because he worked on those, very diligently, and they were supposed to be classic 78 songs, I think. And I think I don't know, I think some of the stuff that he has demoed up, that we may record in the future, that stuff is really going to blow people away. I hope we do get around to releasing it at some point.
Like I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that and the vinyl too. So COVID comes along, and all of a sudden there's these videos coming out with Charlie Benante, you and PJ Farley, some with John Five, all the way, and Mr. Speed. And I'm telling you guys, when I heard these for the first time, I was like, Kiss is going and remastering stuff or something like that, because you guys are spot on. Did this kind of get the thing going for like quarantine?
I think they happen almost simultaneously. But I think the stuff with Charlie happened a little bit before.
Right.
Because I was just interested, as like, we're not doing anything. I'm like, Kiss, let's do Kiss,
Exactly.
So I'm like, who can I, and at first I'm like, Charlie, Charlie. So I reached out to Charlie, and he was already doing projects, and he's like, definitely. I'm like, what songs would you want to do? He's like, All the Way and Mr. Speed. I'm like, I love both of those songs equally, And Tom actually sang, kind of uncredited. He sang All the Way.
Yeah.
And then he sang backup on Mr. Speed. But as far as like guitars and stuff, and I did basically all the guitars. Occasionally, I know John is credited for playing those solos. I actually played those.
Oh, wow.
but I don't, I'm going to give John the credit. In the video, John's playing it.
Right.
But I think he, at the time, he may have had stuff going on. So I don't know. I don't even know if he could record at home. So, but yeah, he was absolutely part of it though. And it made it special. And, Charlie spent, a lot of time, helping with mixing. I would mix it at my house and we'd send it back and forth. And he's like, well, wait a minute. This needs to be a little bit louder. That needs to be, so we must have did 10 different mixes. And then he would send it to John. John would say, okay, that sounds good. And
Yeah.
so like everyone was, kind of involved in it. And that was, a lot of fun. But at the same time, I'm talking to my buddy Kent, who's the drummer for Luke Bryan. And Kent was pretty down. I'm not going to lie. He was like, very obviously, if you're a touring musician, you're down at that time. You're kicked in the guts, and there's no saving you at that point. It was hopeless. Nothing's opening up for years at least, And we were talking. I said, why don't we do some once again Kiss? I'm like, let's do some 80s Kiss, because we were both huge 80s Kiss fans. And he's like, yeah. I said, yeah, we could call it Quarantine with a K. And so I'm like, just kind of joking at the time. And so Kent and I start like kind of messing around. He sends me a little drum snippet of him playing No, No, No. And I did just a little bit of the intro. And next thing I know, he texts me and goes, hey, who's going to sing on this? I said, I don't care. I'll do it. And he said, I think I know someone. I said, okay. And he sends next morning I wake up, I get a 4-way text with Chris Jericho and PJ and I'd known of Chris. Charlie and I were friends, Charlie Benante, and Charlie and Chris are like that. So I had known Chris through other people, but not really known him to the extent that I know him now.
Right.
And so that kind of began a great friendship, and my extended Kiss family, like yourself, who I consider part of my Kiss family now. So, but yeah, so Chris kind of said, I would love to sing on this. And I think I got a guy to play bass, and it's PJ. And I said, excellent, let's do this. And next thing I know, Chris says, if we're going to do this, we're going all the way, pun intended. Right.
Yeah.
So no. He's like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do one Gene song, one Paul song. Cause Chris is friends with Paul, and Paul's his absolute favorite member of Kiss, I believe. And so we did No, in Heart of Chrome. We tracked them back to back, and we released No, and it ends up on the mainstream rock radio charts. Yeah. And I think it was like, I don't remember if it got up to number 25 which is stupid. I'm looking at the charts. I'm like, how is this possible? This is total
People
sign.
loved it. People loved it, dude.
I'm just like, how? This was meant for just me and Kent to have fun, and now it's blossomed into, being on the radio. And granted, it got played on Sirius XM. It got played on, all these other market stations throughout the United States. And now then we have fans that are starting to reach out to us and say, hey, I love 80s Kiss. I love Chris Jericho. I love what you guys are doing. So it was a pretty wild experience. Chris obviously is one of, like we said off air earlier, one of the hardest working.
Definitely.
I wouldn't say entertainment people. I would say maybe people in general.
Yes. He's got stuff going on all the time.
All the time.
That we just know about. I don't even know what else he's got going on that we don't know about. But gosh, no, to wrestle, play with Flythe, the podcast, then Quarantine. I mean, he's got stuff going on all the time. And it's like he thrives off of it.
Yeah, he's got the cruise. We're playing the cruise coming up here in January. We did it last year and the year before, which is an incredible time, by the way. If you love music and wrestling and just all cool things, comedy, all that stuff. So it's such a great time. It's the Chris Jericho's Rock and Wrestling Rager at Sea. And last year, I got to watch Rudy Sarzo from Quiet Riot play and then go eat dinner with him, just him and I and my wife, just the three of us, quiet. And I'm like, this is,
you think about Rudy. I mean, he's played in some of the most influential bands and played with Randy Rhoads. I mean,
so here I am sitting with him at a table, and we're just talking about life and talking about music. And I didn't fanboy on him. It's just not my style. I'm
You
just
were
like,
you were probably thinking on the inside, well, I'm sitting here with real
yeah.
guitars.
So at the end, he's like, "Here, take my number. Let's keep in contact." So I'm like, "Oh my god!" But only great things have happened as far as the quarantine thing, and working with Classic 78 and the country thing. I got some new stuff coming up, but as far as let me go rewind a little bit back to the Chris Jericho thing, the quarantine thing. That has opened up so many cool doors. PJ, is literally like
Like a great guy.
PJ is just the coolest. Kent, obviously, I've known for much longer, but our friend Charlie Para from Brazil, who's like, he's got his own signature guitar here
Yeah.
in the Kramer Guitars, and so a lot of great things happened. I got my endorsement deal with ESP guitars through this whole quarantine thing, because I was normally a country guy, but when I started playing the shred stuff,
Yeah.
it kind of worked out where I'm gonna need some really nice guitars to make this happen, and you know,
So
but
all of this stuff that you did, like just messing around, it seems like everything is taken off and it's
yeah,
worked out really well for you.
yeah. I mean, I really can't complain, man. I'm just like, what more can I ask for? I've got excellent friends
Yeah.
that to do this with, some of the best in the business as far as I'm concerned. And Jericho, once again, like we did we called it a corn tour. It was a mini tour that we did of like the Midwest. And he flew in. He had a big pay-per-view match, I think the night before, or something. It was a big match, I know that. So here he is flying in. He had a cut on his head, and he was kind of limping a little bit, and literally flew in. Here we are playing, a 500 seat club out in Pennsylvania, and we didn't know what to expect. The ticket sales were decent, but we were like, you just don't know until you get there. And next thing I know, we're on stage, and I'm going, holy crap, we did this. Like, we're a Kiss cover band. Granted, it helps to have Chris Jericho as your lead singer,
Yeah.
but it was just so awesome. And then night two, same thing. Great crowd. They were all into it, but it's funny because people with a Classic 78 CD show up. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a feather in my cap. We're doing a meet and greet, and I'm standing next to Jericho, and someone hands him a wrestling figure to sign, or or this or that.
Right. Somebody
Hey,
hands
check out my yeah. Some fan comes, check out my knee pads of Paul Stanley's from the Who Wants to Be Lonely video, and we're like, that's really cool. So then someone hands Chris a Classic 78 CD, and he's like, here, that's for you, and he hands it to me. I was like, that's so funny. You could have action figures, knee pads, all these things come down the line. Charlie has stuff that he signs. PJ has Trickster stuff. Kent
right.
has the Luke Bryan stuff, and man, it's just such a cool little gig. And we talk constantly. I've become close with all those guys. They're literally like an extension of my older brothers.
Right.
So, but
Yeah.
that gig, I had met Bruce Kulick before, but
Oh, God.
I just never got the time to really get to know Bruce until COVID hit and he started recording with Quarantine, like we did Heart of Chrome. And Bruce and I just hit it off immediately. Like, we're totally gearheads when it comes to guitar, and we're both, really into a lot of the same stuff. So when we started playing, it became obvious that I think we got a good friendship going here. And now I think we talk almost, I wouldn't say daily, but sometimes daily.
Right.
But at least every couple days. And then it came down to when we did the Kiss Cancer Goodbye event in Florida that I ended up playing, basically singing all the Gene songs and playing bass, which is odd because I hadn't played bass for a little while, but I love playing bass. So I ended up playing with Bruce and Todd Kearns and Joey Casada, who's another great friend of ours, and
Joey Casada, yes.
kind of the secondary. Second in line is the Quarantine drummer.
Oh, yeah, he talks trash about that all the time. They should have had me as a drummer. I hear
Yep.
it all the time. Hopefully, we're gonna have Joey on soon. Hopefully, I'm working on it with him right now. So
Oh yeah,
we'll have him on soon.
he's a blast. He's a riot, and just another awesome guy. So I've been pretty fortunate to be able to. I got to get back on the horse with the country thing. I've kind of taken a little bit of time off just because COVID, like completely threw a wrench, and I started getting all these other offers. I don't know if you ever heard of a band called Lordy.
Yes, I have heard of them.
They were managed by Bill Aucoin before Bill died.
Yes.
And they were like kind of, so you know how Kiss is the Beatles on steroids. Well, Lordy is Kiss on steroids. They have bigger costumes, almost like Gwar, but But anyway, they're huge Kiss fans, obviously, right? And so they reached out to Classic 78 and said, "Would you guys want to sing backup on one of our albums?" And I said, "Yeah, that'd be cool." So what they did is they released this box set on vinyl. It's actually might be on Apple Music and everything, but they did an album that was kind of like 70s, Kiss style, and then they do one like an 80s British heavy metal, new wave of British heavy metal, and then they would do all these different influenced kind of vibe albums on this box set. But we ended up singing on Skeletric Dinosaur is the name of the album, and you could hear us, me. You could kind of hear me in the background doing the whoa yeahs, the oh yeah, Paul Stanley stuff, and then you could hear Tom doing the Gene kind of stuff. And
how long ago was this? They did this?
So that was right in the middle of COVID, and they released it. I don't know, maybe a year.
Was it called Lordiversity?
Yes, I believe that's it. Yeah.
There's a bunch of Lordiversity albums up here. So
yeah, so there you go. I think ours is Skeletric Dinosaur. I think that's the name of it.
I see it right here. Skeletric Dinosaur.
Yeah. So it definitely doesn't sound like normal Lordy, but they kind of tried to set, and they had some really cool guitar riffs, some really cool melodies. But it's definitely a fun listen. It's different for sure, but it's funny, how does a country singer go from saying nothing like the radio to singing on a frickin' Lordy album? It's like, oh. So I spent my whole life trying to be a country singer. Now I'm singing on a Lordy album.
Yeah.
But it's funny, and like I said, I can't complain. I have like the best of both worlds. I get to play on stage with Chris Jericho and these guys, and then go open up for Old Dominion or whoever it is, But next year I have a lot of country stuff I will be releasing. I got some new singles all ready to roll. So 2024, we'll see how it goes. So
yeah. So your website, Joe McGinness, is it joemcginnis.com?
Yep, joemcginnis.com.
That's the best place to find everything about you right there, right?
Yeah, and obviously Instagram. I think it's Joe McGinness, Joe McGinness Official, or Facebook, or any of those. But yeah, the website will get you pretty much anywhere you want to go. I do believe. I'm not sure how up to date it is, but I think it's.
I looked at tour dates. They had 2022.
Okay, yeah. So
that was Creature Fest.
Oh, Creatures Fest. Oh yeah. So that hasn't been updated because I've played some country gigs since then. I've played all, obviously, the Kiss Cancer Goodbye and a lot of the Jericho cruise. So, but yeah.
Going back a little bit, rewind a little bit to Bruce, because and maybe he'll watch this. Maybe you can tell him what he, to me, is like the most genuine member of Kiss out there. He is like the ambassador of Kiss. I mean, and to watch him from, after the whole Mark St. John deal to, I was like, who is this guy? Because I remember, we used to buy the Hit Paraders, the Circus magazine, and seeing him and like, who is this guy? And then to see him on Exposed, and I mean, because the guy freaking developed into probably everybody talks about Tommy Thayer's been there longest, and Bruce was there longer than Ace. And Bruce became kind of like, if you get past that original four, Bruce is like the guitar player for Kiss, and
Mm-hmm.
some of the best guitar solos you ever hear from Tears of Falling. I mean, he puts it on, and then Forever when he does
Oh,
that. Oh my gosh, he kills it. But he is like, you know, I'll tell you this: my top three members of Kiss, and I'll probably give away this for an episode later on, but Ace, Eric Carr, and Bruce.
mm,
I mean, Paul. Nothing against Paul and Gene, but
right.
it seems like and Gene. It seems like he's got more humble over the years as far as
Yeah.
dealing with the fan. He knows that. It seems like over the last 10 or 15 years, it's like, you know, the fans are what got us here. I mean, he used to say it all the time, but I think now he really means it. Now he knows
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
coming to an end, and he really means it. But
Yeah.
yeah, Bruce
I
is like
think.
my third favorite member.
Oh yeah, Bruce. To me, growing up, I obviously couldn't help but be influenced by Ace. I'm a huge Ace fan. Um, I would say Ace was my first guitar hero, but Bruce is my favorite guitar hero.
Yeah.
And to be friends and I hate that it sounds goofy, but he's kind of a mentor to me at this
Yeah.
point.
Oh
And
yeah, that isn't goofy at all. That's good.
he kind of helped steer me in the right direction and help me. I mean, that guy's done so much for me, and he doesn't have to. He could be like, yeah, whatever. But he takes the time. He's been nothing but super cool. One of the most professional people I could tell you in the business, as far as anything's concerned, as far as I could see, the way he handles situations. I've seen it just numerous times. It's always nothing but, if we can't give the best show with what we're not going to do it. It's and working with him on that Kiss Cancer Goodbye event. It was no cutting corners. We're going to do this. We're going to do it this way. And it was, let's talk on the phone. Let's get it how we're going to let's plan everything out. It was absolute professionalism. And at the end of the day, it was pure rock and roll.
And
and,
looking it up on Facebook and on YouTube and watching it. Oh man, it was freaking awesome.
Well, yeah, Bruce is he just still has the chops, man. And so some other members of the band can't say that. And Bruce has just always kind of held it together and just been able to deliver.
I don't look at Bruce like he's aging. I mean, he doesn't look like he's aging at all.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think if Eric Carr was still here, he'd be the same way. He wouldn't age at all.
I agree.
That's just, he's amazing. He is amazing.
Yeah.
And what he was doing during the whole COVID time with putting his videos out and stuff, that was freaking awesome, because I would watch those every time they came out.
Yeah. He would always send them to me in advance. Don't share this, he'd say. And so I'm like, yes, I got to see this, because I love watching that stuff just as much as anybody, because I'm a monster fan. And when he would share it with me, I'm like, man, that's so cool. I'm like, I wish Gene and Paul, had the time to do that. And not that, and Bruce is a busy guy, obviously, playing with Grand Funk. He's doing his solo stuff, obviously, and he keeps himself plenty busy. And I wish the other members were able to do that, or even Ace. Speaking of which, Ace has a new album coming out, and I've heard
about it.
I got to give a little plug, because my friends Steve Brown, Joey Casada played drums on some of that, along with Anton Fig. PJ Farley played on it, and I've heard some of those tracks, and I'm just going to tell you, it's great stuff, and I think it's the best that Ace has put out. I'm going to say since the Frehley's Comet records.
Oh wow!
I
saw they were shooting the video for the title track. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Ready.
Yeah.
I'm just ready for new material for some of these. I understand some of the, like Paul always said, nobody wants to hear new music from Kiss.
That's not true.
That's not true. No, I mean, you guys with this proved that right there. But the last two albums, not a big fan. Not big fans of the last two, but I still, as a fan, I still want to hear new music. I mean, and I granted, I know it's not going to be like the '70s where they put out like 3 albums in like 3 years or anything like that. But give us one last.
You know,
It's not corny. One last kiss. Give us one
yeah,
last
on it.
kiss.
I mean, I think it would be a shame to go out with not doing at least a single, release a
Yeah.
single, something. You know,
And
give us one
don't
more.
let it be. Nothing can keep me from you. Be the last.
You know, and I like Sonic Boom and Monster. You know, they're okay.
They're okay.
Yeah, they're not by any means my favorite or my. You know, I wouldn't.
It's not like I'm gonna go say, "Hey, I'm gonna go listen to Sonic Boom." Like I would
Right.
say, "Hey, I'm gonna go listen to Rock and Roll Over."
Right.
I mean, it's not like that. I'm not bashing the albums, but it's just not one of my favorites.
You know, since they put Sonic Boom on Apple Music, and I get to listen to it side by side with Monster, I used to think I thought I liked Monster a little bit more, but now
I think Sonic Boom's.
I think Sonic Boom's a little better.
Yeah,
and
I like it a little bit better.
You know, they were both good efforts, and I'm really happy that they did release those because you can't complain. You know, it's like, hey,
Right.
I'm getting new music, and I would love at least one more song, or like even a 4-song deal, or
Yeah.
anything.
Well,
I'm not asking for a full album, something, anything, you know.
I'm just hoping when all is said and done and December 2nd is over, that somehow, being the most visual band of all time, that we'll start seeing, the Officer soundboards. As soon as they come out, I'm ordering that. Granted,
Yep.
I ordered from Kiss Online. It takes forever to get it, but some video, and I think Tom and Zeus from Shout Out Loudcast talked about do an app where you can stream video, like all this old stuff.
Yes.
I would love, these guys claim to have recorded all this stuff over the years, so let's see it. Let's see it.
You know, I really hope it's true that they have.
I hope it's not exaggeration.
Yeah, because you know how they can be.
Oh,
I'm thinking, come on, I believe that there's probably a lot out there, especially the early days when the money was rolling in, and they're like, "Yep, record it. Let's record it. Let's record it." And but through the '80s, that's the stuff I would really like to see. I want to see some Asylum Tour Pro Shot stuff.
Yes.
They released some there a little while ago.
Oh, Sam Loomis deal.
The Sam Loomis deal, and that was kind of cool, and I'm thankful for that. I'm like,
that was cool at first, but it got old quick with the whole drama deal.
Yeah, everything always goes back to drama, unfortunately, with that. But I'd like to see some stuff that we haven't. I've seen a ton of the Destroyer or Rock and Roll Over tour or Love Gun tour. We've seen a ton of that, which you can never get sick of that stuff.
No.
But at some point, you're like, well, let me see something from the Creatures tour. Let me see something from, whatever, and have it.
Two shows I want to see. I mean, well, one is Palladium, Eric Carr's debut.
Yes, that'd be cool.
That would be like the Holy Grail. There's another one, and there's more than two, but two of the ones that stick out. The Magic Mountain concert from Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
That would be a great one. That's a great idea. Yeah.
I saw that somewhere. They need to release it.
I saw that somewhere, the footage, but I didn't hear any accurate audio with it. But I did see some footage that was released recently, I guess. And that was really cool to watch, So
I'm not going to take up much more of your time. We do a little thing at the end. It's called the 2-minute drill. It's some quick hitting questions. First thing that pops in your head, so get your thinking cap on.
Okay.
These are going to be a little bit all over the place about music. Could be about anything. All right. First album you bought with your own money.
With my own money. Wow. I'm going to say Kiss Alive 3.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi? You got what? But what?
I mean, kind of Love Gun might have been the cassette, but my mother might have chipped in a little bit. But
I got you.
But we'll go with Alive 3.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
I'm gonna go with Pepsi on that one.
Okay. First concert you went to?
It was Kiss Farewell Tour.
Okay. We've talked about this. Favorite Kiss member?
Man, I'm gonna have to go with Bruce, but it's a close second. I've always been a Paul and Gene guy. I was a huge Paul guy, but he seems to dip down a little bit. So occasionally when he opens his mouth too much. But I like the guy,
Yeah, we know all about what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite music artist outside Kiss?
Oh boy. I was a big Brad Paisley fan for a while,
Oh
as far as
yeah,
country, like
yeah.
outside of rock in general. If I had to go, like
He
Brad
can play the
Paisley,
heck out of a guitar
he
too.
really can. I was a huge fan of Paisley. So,
Okay. Lake or beach?
uh, I'm a late guy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Favorite sport to watch?
basketball.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Yes. Yes. Favorite movie?
Uh, I have a lot of them. Can I just throw a couple of them out that might
Yes.
be? So I love Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Right.
I love Beastmaster from that was always on.
Beastmaster.
I
Wow.
love that movie,
Yeah,
man.
who was in that?
Mark Singer.
Yeah, and wasn't that Tanya Roberts?
Yes, Tanya Roberts.
Yeah.
And Revenge of the Nerds is another
Oh
one.
yeah.
And The Heavenly Kid, which is a weird, obscure 80s movie. But anyway,
I remember Heavenly Kid.
do you really?
I remember? Yes. Yes.
Love those movies.
Yes. Favorite TV show?
I'm gonna go with Seinfeld.
Okay. All right. All right. If you could play live with any artist, living or dead, who would it be?
Boy, I don't know. It's got to be the toss up between George. I was gonna say George Strait
Oh wow, that would be a good one.
and or Paul and Gene. I'd like to play with those
you get
guys.
the best of both with George
Yeah.
Strait, Paul Gene. That's
Yeah.
yeah. If you could go back in time to any music event, what would it be?
Let's see. I once again I gotta throw two of them out there.
Okay.
I got Kiss Animalize live uncensored. I'd want to be there for that, and then I'd also want to see Kiss at Winterland in '74 or '75, whatever.
Yes.
Those are two of my favorites.
I'm like a lot of these podcasts that you listen to with guys that watch at Wonderland. If you had all four of those guys playing like they did at Wonderland and just kept on doing that over the years.
Oh man, unstoppable.
Last one, favorite Kiss song to play
Favorite Kiss song to play
or sing, whatever. Actually, I got one more.
No, I can do these all night. These are fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably Fits Like a Glove. I love playing that one. Man.
Oh wow. Okay. All right. Last one. Favorites of the 4 solo albums.
I'm gonna go with Paul's. I love Ace. Ace is up there, but I feel like Ace's album gets a little bit weaker as it goes on. Like it starts out with such high, like Rip It Out, Speeding Back to My Baby, but I feel as it goes on, like Wiped Out. But if you compare it to how many great songs are on Paul's, and I know it's all subject to who is listening, but man, Paul really kind of nailed it out of the park with almost every song. I know some people don't like Hold Me, Touch Me, but if you take that out, it's a pretty
I'll tell you this, over the years, I've got more, because I remember as a kid, Paul's was the last one that we got in the house, and it was the least played at that time in the house. I mean, right. As a kid, I loved Peters. I loved Ace and Gene and Peters. I loved those. But I didn't play Paul's as much. I don't know why, but over the years, like probably one of my favorite off that is Goodbye.
Yeah, Goodbye is great.
The guitar work in that, I love that in there. Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, I would not be upset if they played that the last song.
Yeah, that's actually
forget Rock and Roll All Night. I've heard it a million times. Play Goodbye.
That's a great idea. So, did you actually say what your favorite solo album is?
Mine is Ace.
Okay, I figured it was.
I would go. See, Paul's has come up from dead last over the years. Paul's second. Now, then, and no offense to either one, because I love all four now. Gene,
same here.
Gene, and then Peter. I mean, but I could listen to all. As a matter of fact, at work, I've got my earpiece in, and I've got every Kiss song on a playlist, and there's no skips. There's not, especially when it gets to solo albums. But all right, I know you said your website. I'm looking at it right now. Joe McGinness mgmt.wixsite.com.
JoeMcGinnis.com. Yeah, it just pulls up that.
Come up like
here.
that. Okay, JoeMcGinnis.com. Yep. Then you can find you on social media, Instagram, all that. Anything you want to plug? Any shows you got coming up?
So yeah, just keep a lookout for some of my country stuff next year. Obviously, the quarantine stuff. You never know what's going to happen with quarantine because
I was going to ask, but I didn't.
If Jericho decides, hey, I got some free time, and the other guys decide they have free time, and we want to do a, another mini tour. I was told last year, this year when we finished the other one, we're going to do this every year, hopefully, and that would be amazing. But as of right now, we have the show on Jericho's Cruise, right. And then there could be possibly some other country shows coming up. Probably, okay. I wouldn't say the end of this year, but early next year. And then Classic 78, keep an eye out for that vinyl at some point. And that's about everything that's going on at the moment.
We will definitely keep people updated. Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate you taking time. And I feel like I could talk to you all night about this stuff.
I know, right?
Many times likewise. I get to talk to a lot of Kiss fans, especially one that's got the connections you do. But thank you so much. And we will definitely be keeping people updated on your stuff. But thank you. Thanks again, bud. I can't thank you enough.
Oh, likewise. This has been a lot of fun. So I appreciate it.
All right, guys. That is Joe McGinness on the Fly.